All right, today we're diving into a literary mystery that's been around for 200 years, but we're going to look at it with a totally modern twist. What happens when you point an AI at one of the most controversial books ever written in America? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring.
So, for literally 200 years, one big question has hung over the Book of Mormon. How on earth could it have been written by the person who said he did? It's one of those mysteries that really makes you question what's even humanly possible.
And yeah, that's the heart of the whole thing, right? You got Joseph Smith, this young guy from a farm in upstate New York, not a lot of schooling to his name. And then you have this book, a huge 500-plus page scripture, incredibly complex, with hundreds of characters, spanning a massive timeline. How do you even begin to connect those two things? Well, somebody decided to take that old question and throw some very new tech at it: artificial intelligence. They basically fed a large language model all the known facts and just said, okay, analyze the literary evidence. And what we're going to do here is walk through that exact investigation, step by incredible step. Okay, so the AI's analysis kicked off by looking at a really specific literary feature inside the Book of Mormon itself. The source material calls them editorial promises. So, what are these editorial promises? Well, it's pretty simple, actually. Think of it like when a narrator in a story says, hey, I'll get back to that later. The authors inside the book, guys like Nephi or Mormon, they do this all the time. They promise the reader they're going to circle back to a specific topic or a storyline later on. And right away, the AI's first takeaway was pretty stunning. It pointed out that just keeping track of all these promises, we're talking across a story with over 300 different characters, a timeline that stretches for 1,000 years, and then actually delivering on every single one, all without any notes? The AI called that an extraordinary challenge. I mean, that would require an unbelievable memory and some serious organizational skills. So to really put that extraordinary challenge into perspective, the person guiding the AI did something fascinating. They asked it to compare the creation of the Book of Mormon to some of the most legendary literary works ever written. And wow, this slide just lays it all out. Look at this. We all know J.R.R. Tolkien, right? A brilliant Oxford professor. He spent more than a decade, 12 years, painstakingly writing The Lord of the Rings, with tons of notes, maps, drafts, the whole shebang. Now look at Joseph Smith. The claim is he dictated the entire Book of Mormon, an epic that's just as complex in its own way, in about 75 days. The sheer difference in speed and process is just mind-boggling. Okay, now this is where the AI's analysis really starts to cook. It put together this comparison table, scoring different authors on a bunch of factors. Smith, of course, gets top marks for speed and for supposedly using 0 notes. But check out that last column, education. This is the wild part. The AI was programmed so that a higher score actually means less formal education, because creating something so complex with little schooling is seen as a way harder and therefore more incredible achievement. And when you add all that up, the AI gives Smith an almost perfect score, 48 out of 50. So after crunching the numbers and comparing Smith to absolute giants, we're talking Tolstoy, Shakespeare, Tolkien, the AI's conclusion was just stark. It said if Smith really did write it under the conditions everyone says he did, it would be an accomplishment with literally no parallel in all of literary history. But it didn't stop there. The analysis went way deeper than just how fast it was written. The investigator pushed the AI to dig into the text itself, to look for hidden literary structures that might make this whole puzzle even more complex. And one of the biggest things it found is this device called chiasmus. Now, this is a really sophisticated poetic structure where you present ideas and then repeat them in reverse order, kind of like ABC, then CBA. It's like a literary mirror. And here's the thing. While it's a known feature of ancient Hebrew writing, it was not something people in 1830s America were talking about. It just wasn't widely known or studied back then. And Alma chapter 36 is held up as this perfect textbook example. You can see the pattern right here. The phrase A at the start is mirrored by the phrase A at the very end. The B phrase is mirrored, the C phrase is mirrored, and then boom, right in the middle, the dead center of the chiasm is the theological climax of the whole chapter. I mean, trying to compose something this intricate while you're dictating with no notes, to say that would be difficult is a massive understatement. And the complexities just keep piling on. The AI also had to factor in the challenge of giving different narrators their own distinct voices,
weaving in these really intricate, non-linear flashbacks, keeping thousands of cross-references to the Bible straight, and making sure the core theology stays consistent from beginning to end. I mean, any one of those is a huge challenge for an author.
So, after looking at the incredible speed, the supposed lack of notes, the minimal education, and all these deep, complex literary layers, the AI was ready to give its final cumulative verdict. And this is really the core of its entire analysis. It concluded that there is, and I quote, no other known figure in recorded history who has done what he did under the same conditions. Producing a work this complex, this long, this consistent, in such a short time with no notes and so little education. It's just an event without a known historical parallel. And that logic led the AI to a pretty provocative conclusion. It basically said, look, if a normal, natural explanation is so statistically unlikely, so historically unprecedented, then the other explanation on the table, Joseph Smith's own claim that he had divine help, becomes, in the AI's words, plausible and intellectually justifiable. You're essentially just weighing one massive improbability against another. And a conclusion like that really forces us to zoom out, you know? It pivots from the details of this one book to a much bigger question about how any of us deal with extraordinary evidence, and it all comes down to our own starting assumptions. You know, the AI itself pointed this out. It brought up this very human thing we all do, confirmation bias. It's our tendency to look for information that backs up what we already think and to kind of ignore the stuff that challenges our beliefs. And that goes for everybody, whether you're a skeptic or a believer. And this is maybe the most crucial insight the AI offered, a warning to us humans, really. It said that our own starting assumptions can actually be an obstacle to finding the truth, especially if they make us write off possible explanations before we've even looked at the evidence. And that's really the question this whole analysis leaves us with. It doesn't matter if we're talking about this 200-year-old literary mystery or any other big puzzle out there. When the evidence seems to fly in the face of a conventional explanation, when it pushes the absolute limits of what we think is possible, how do we decide which explanations are even worth considering?